All right, Dalton, our number one corner in college football should not be a surprise to anybody. That is Will Johnson from Michigan, who has been an absolute superstar in his first 2 years of college football.
Yeah, that's what he is, man, Max. I mean, you talk about a guy who can play in man coverage. You talk about when he's healthy, can play in zone coverage. 86.3 single coverage grade, one of the best marks in the country over the last 2 years. A 90.2 man coverage grade over the last 2 years. There's just so few corners that game is so well rounded these days, especially when you talk about being able to play man to man. You're seeing just defenses now play more zone coverage than ever. So corners who can play one on one are even more rare. And Will Johnson's ability is really, really rare. You talk about through his freshman and sophomore seasons, Max, a 90.6 overall grade. The only guys in PFF history with better through their freshman and sophomore seasons, whether they be true or red shirt or either one, Byron Murphy, Trent McDuffie, Marlon Humphrey, Derek Stingley, Greedy Williams. I believe that's 4 first-round picks and 1 second-round pick. Will Johnson is one of those guys. He's going to go down in PFF history as one of the best college corners that we've seen. It's just he's the full package. And, we mentioned in our Benjamin Morrison video how the tiebreaker between the two of them is that Will Johnson is better in run defense than he is, as well as grades in the low 70s in run defense. The full package. He really is, and his technique is absolutely flawless.
Dude, there's not a lot to hate in his game, man. He is truly a special player, man. He 5-star recruit coming out of high school, had a 91.1 grade in man coverage as a true freshman, which led all corners in the Power 5. As a sophomore, 29.1 passer rating allowed, which was 5th among all corners in college football, and actually a lower passer rating than spiking the ball every play. So Will Johnson, unreal, man. And against Marvin Harrison Jr. and Rome Odunze, 2 top 10 picks, he had 6 targets against them and allowed only 3 catches while also getting an interception as well. So all the physical traits you'd want, man, in a corner. 6'2", 202 pounds, great speed, or not great speed, actually, because I can bring up the weaknesses, but the footwork, man, the ball skills, the length, the press coverage ability, the technique overall is outstanding, man. And I think remind me a lot of Pat Surtain, honestly, when I was watching his tape at Alabama, which is so technically sound, man. It's just like, yeah, it's going to work in the NFL because that's how technically sound he is. And we saw Surtain immediately become one of the best corners in the league as a rookie. I think Will Johnson could immediately have a similar type of impact in his rookie year once he gets to the NFL too, man. He's a truly, truly special player. But what are the weaknesses, Dalton, with Will Johnson right now?
So, I wanted to see why there was a bit of a grade dip from 2022 to 2023. And the big thing that I came away with, it was just the injuries, honestly, right? He came into 2023 off of a knee surgery. He hurt himself in the middle of the year. He played hampered against Ohio State. He missed the conference championship game against Iowa. And you look at him last year, and clearly I think it was his right leg, his right knee, just wasn't right. You just didn't see the same change of direction. So to me, I don't have a ton of concern if he's healthy. And I was kind of trying to find proof. Okay, was this the reason, right? And something I noticed last year. So let's say Michigan plays a lot of cover 3, especially. All right. And when you're talking about lining up on, each side of the ball, he'll play pretty equally on the left and right side. Okay. When he played right corner last year, okay, think about this. Say he's playing off in cover 3. Most of the time, you're going to cut off your left foot because you're breaking up on the ball off your left foot. So an 85.6 coverage grade when he's lined up on the right side of the defense, okay? When he lined up on the left side, when he had to cut off that right knee, especially in off coverage, a 61.3, all right? So you're talking about a guy who just was having issues cutting off of his right foot, right? And that's a problem, even for the best corner in the country. Further expand that into cover 3. When he's playing that right side and he cut off his good foot, his coverage grade in cover 3 last year from the right side went up 15 points from the year before. And on the left side, it went down 23 points.
Wow.
So to me, I tried to find, I go, is there something he did wrong? It's like, what's going on here? And it really was just a matter of that right knee, that right leg was bothering him. Clearly, you see him play on the left side where he's got to cut off that right knee a lot. It was a problem. Even in man coverage at times, in press man, you don't have so many defined cuts off of one foot. You can kind of shuffle, you can kind of dance, you can kind of match, and mirror what the receiver's doing. Wasn't as big an issue. But when you talk about, especially in zone coverage, having to make those cuts off his right foot, off his right knee, it was a problem. You could see the injuries were bothering him. So I'll be honest with you, from what I found last year, if he's 100%, I have no question he's the best corner in the country. It's just about recovering and staying healthy and just being that guy. Because that's, if there was any reason, if anybody last year, coming off last year's numbers is going, well, he only graded around a 79 and that's not the elite guy we're looking for. And I go, that was Will Johnson at 80%.
Yeah.
Right. And Will Johnson at 80% was still the guy shadowing Marvin Harrison, getting the big interception off Marvin Harrison, shadowing Rome Odunze, all that. They still trusted him enough to do that, right? So I look at him and I go, if he's healthy, I have zero doubt he's the best corner in the country. I have just about zero doubt he'd be a top 10 pick in next year's draft.
Dude, I love that. I know you kind of hyped that up, Dalton, before we were recording, man. That's a great breakdown, man. I didn't even think about the injury playing a part in it. You mentioned it, man. It makes a big difference, man. When you're trying to cut off each knee, it makes a lot of sense. And even look at the gas score, man. 68th percentile in 2022, 42nd percentile this last year. I think that knee injury did bother him. Now, I don't think he's an elite athlete. That's one thing I was going to bring up. I don't think he's like a elite athlete like a Benjamin Morrison is, or somebody, a Travis Hunter, for example, or Terrio Davis. I think he wins more off technique. He's a good enough athlete. Don't get me wrong. He's above average athlete. But I don't think he's like the best of the best, like those three that we talked about before are. So that's the one thing I was going to mention too. But other than that, man, as long as he's healthy, and even 80% of Will Johnson, man, 78.5 coverage grade is nothing to scoff at. That's still really, really good, especially going against elite competition, guarding the number one receiver and 2 top 10 picks at receiver. So he still played really well as a sophomore. But if he's fully healthy as a junior, man, Michigan is going to be in good hands with him. And you kind of need him to be, right? They have a lot of unknowns in that secondary right now with Rod Moore hurt, Keon Sabb going to Alabama, and other guys declaring for the draft as well. So they need Will Johnson to be that alpha number one corner. And luckily for them, they have the best corner in the country. That is Will Johnson out of Michigan. So let us know what you think about Will Johnson, and also be on the lookout for our team previews coming out for every single team in the Power 5 very, very soon.